Helios Flight 522 was to fly from Cyprus to Prague with an intermediate stop in Athens, Greece. As the flight set out over the sea, an altitude alert sounded, followed eventually by the deployment of oxygen masks from the ceiling. Before long, a temperature warning light indicated to the two pilots that something was wrong in avionics. The captain got up to find the circuit breaker and solve the problem. Ground control lost contact shortly thereafter. An hour later, two Greek F-16s scrambled to intercept and investigate the plane visually. They reported the absence of a captain in the cockpit and no movement from the co-pilot or passengers. The plane was on autopilot and would stay that way until it ran out of fuel and plunged into the Greek mountains. We watched Airplane and Snakes on a Plane.
What?
Jesus Christ, man.
What? I was trying something new.
What happened this week?
Can
Wanted
we
to see what would happen if we started on a really morose note.
For the comedy, I get it, for the comedy week.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah. I looked up like strange plane mysteries, and this one was the spookiest.
So, well, we're done with the spoopy. We're well past spoopy. Okay?
Well,
So they found a plane with no pilot, and the autopilots, the co-pilots were dead?
Everyone on board was not moving when the fighter jets went to inspect it, and it was just because the oxygen level had dropped so low they all passed out, but the autopilot was still on.
Oh,
yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Why? What the fuck?
Yeah, spooky.
Why?
Spooky.
Well,
So were they able to get? That doesn't matter. Let's just move on to the podcast.
yeah. So welcome.
To Aviation Mysteries. Everything is Star Wars side podcast.
Yeah. Congratulations on surviving all of your plane flights up until now. And welcome to Citizen Kane Versus, where we compare a movie that is widely considered to be on the great side with a movie that is considered to be more on the schlocky side. And we ask ourselves, honestly, which is better? My name is Jack Rennie, and I'm joined by my two friends,
Sean Jacqueline.
And
Daniel Benoit.
I love that you have fully committed to that.
Yeah.
Yes, and Daniel Benoit. And the connective tissue this week seems to be this is a tricky one, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about
Daniels.
it. Is it clouds? Or sorry, Dan, is it clouds?
It was actually Sam Jackson was the connecting
thread. Is he one of the jive people in Airplane?
Yes, exactly. He's one of the jive people in Airplane. He actually plays Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh, no way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
What a chameleon.
My first thought watching these movies is realizing that Hollywood can't make a movie that takes place on a plane without it being about that plane like fearing a crash.
Oh yeah.
I just want to see one plane where it's like something happens on a plane that doesn't involve someone, like an emergency landing. Like just once. Can it just
Red
be
Eye.
Red Eye is about a killer on the plane, right? And the plane lands and he follows her home. Yeah.
And it continues after, yeah. But it's mostly on the plane.
Yeah,
with the brilliant Cillian Murphy.
So do you just want like someone's GoPro footage that they let their GoPro on in their bag and it's just peeking out through the zipper hole of a completely like totally normal flight from Calgary to Toronto? Okay.
Yes, Sean, that's what I'm saying. Thank you. Thank you for interpreting me
perfectly.
Well,
wait, what is Air Force One about?
Air Force One is
that about
Harrison Ford as the president defending terrorists from
who are
plane.
hijacking the plane?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So yeah. Well, I mean, what other reason would you have for placing a movie or setting a movie on a plane?
Well, it's cheaper, right? So
Money Plane probably doesn't crash.
Money Plane probably doesn't crash.
Ooh, and Soul Plane I don't think is
Soul Plane.
It's probably shoehorned in there. I bet
probably at some point they have to prevent
Yeah, someone blows weed smoke into the something, and apparently it's really easy to make planes break down. According to Snakes on a Plane, just snakes running by wires makes it.
It's very fragile.
We watched Airplane and Snakes on a Plane, which thank you, Dan.
I loved it. Great pairing.
I thought it was a good week. I had fun.
A good week. I mean, great time watching these movies and a great time for totally different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Airplane first, and then I watched Snakes on a Plane last night. And I saw Snakes on a Plane like maybe in theaters.
Wow.
Like I remember it was one of those things where I think some friends and I were like, "This movie is ridiculous. Let's go." And we were like, "Yeah, it's fully ridiculous."
Yeah,
go.
like
It's so aware of itself, which is nice.
Snakes on a Plane is what I imagine Sharknado wants to be, but like doesn't have enough
Yes.
money to be.
Totally.
This film certainly started that like blockbuster schlock film thing,
Yeah.
where you get Tara Reid to be in your B movie, and it makes it that much funnier, but also much more like marketable, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. But that's the thing. Like Sharknado is also a more expensive premise. Making a movie on a plane is cheap because you have one controlled set that once you have it, you make the entirety of the plane, and that essentially, and that's most of any plane movie.
Yeah.
And so they're generally like a cheaper movie to make, I think, as opposed to like.
Well, yeah,
The
the budget for this movie,
set.
they made this whole thing for like $35 million or something. It was really, as far as movies go,
Yeah.
it's very cheap.
And like 30 million was probably for Sam Jackson, and the rest, and 5 million for the rest.
Probably.
Yeah. I also learned that he goes by Mr. Jackson on set. I was watching the credits of this film, and one of the credits is costumer for Mr. Jackson.
Oh,
And I was like,
that's pretty
Yeah,
standard
it's
though.
standard.
Is that standard, really?
Yeah, for like
I hated
for when
it.
it
I
says
hated
like
it.
it'll say assistant to or
Yeah.
something to. It's always Mr. or Mrs.
It's always Mr.?
or Miss.
Oh.
Whenever I happen to like accidentally be performing at something that's a little above my station, and it has like Mr. Jacklin on my dressing room door, I get freaked out and then just run away.
Yeah. So I don't know why. It's just like a weird tradition in various performances.
Oh, I lost
Anywho,
all of that.
Airplane.
let's hear some summaries for these movies.
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. So Airplane is a 1980 film. Our protagonist, Ted Stryker, is a former combat pilot who we open on him chasing down his partner in an airport. She's a flight attendant, and he's trying desperately to change her mind because she's leaving him. And he buys a ticket and goes on the flight. And in the flight, people start going sick because of the food that they're eating. And with the help of a doctor and some people on the ground, one of whom is from his military past and knows of the mistakes he might have made in the past, he confronts his fear of flying and safely lands the plane because the two pilots have passed out from the sickness, and everything's great in the end. Oh, and it's a yuck slapstick comedy.
Yeah, it's a completely, it's like the most reasonable description of this movie. It sounds like yeah, again, like a drama almost.
Yeah.
Like this man who survived the war but has PTSD seeks to regain his love. It's like a completely bonkers parody movie. That's
of
not
all
even
the disaster stuff that was made in Hollywood up till now. Yeah.
where
I honestly
literally
found this movie. Sorry, go ahead.
like I said, literally every shot is meant to be a gag, like a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was
They're never trying to do
exhausting.
Eventually, it almost becomes exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the very end, I've watched this movie probably 200 times in my life, and still always by the end it gets to like they land the plane and I'm like, okay, let's go, and there's still a few more gags left to happen, and you're like, oh, this is all really, really funny stuff, guys, but like, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in contrast, we have Snakes on a Plane, starring Samuel L. Jackson and Julianne Margulies. I think that's how you pronounce her name.
Juliana Margulies? Yeah, I think. I don't know.
The star of Good Wife. I think it's starring her as well. She was a big name at this point. I think she'd done ER for a while, and then she was on The Good Wife.
Okay, great.
It honestly took me half the film to realize that the film was not going to be about the annoying little surfer dude. So,
because they set it up as him being the protagonist. Anyway, so the movie starts with an annoying little surfer dude, and also I guess like a motocross enthusiast.
This privileged trust fund baby.
Yeah.
doing whatever the fuck he wants all around the world.
He accidentally witnesses the murder of a prosecuting attorney by a Japanese mob boss called Eddie Kim, I think was his name. And
Korean, for being real.
Okay, well, then a Korean mob boss.
Yeah.
And he is taken into the custody of the FBI and persuaded to testify against Eddie Kim so they can finally put this notorious mob boss behind bars. But that trial takes place in LA, and they are currently in Honolulu. So they have to transport the guy whose name I completely never caught.
Sean.
Call him Chad.
Sean.
His name's Sean.
Is his name Sean?
Yeah, I was very upset.
Freedom.
That's your name.
Yeah.
So the FBI commandeers a plane, or the entire first class section of a plane, to transport Sean from Honolulu to LA. But in the process, Eddie Kim finds out what plane Sean is on and loads it with a variety of different venomous snakes sourced from all over the world. And these snakes wreak havoc on the passengers of this plane until Samuel L. Jackson, who is the lead FBI agent, and Kenan Thompson, who is an avid video game player, are able to rid the plane of snakes by blowing out the windows and bring it to a successful and pretty calm landing.
Pretty chill in the end.
Pretty chill. And a lot of people die in the process.
Yeah.
A lot of people die.
A lot of people.
It's the most elaborate plan to kill one person, maybe of any movie.
Well, and what I love the most is you have that scene where, first of all, you see Eddie Kim just showing off his dope martial arts skills, and he's so ripped, and then his henchman is like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he's like, "Do you not think that I've exhausted all other options?"
So I wanted the henchman to be like, again, we pay people to kill people all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and also they have access to the plane. They can obviously put whatever they want on the plane because they're loading it with illegal venomous snakes. Why not just put a bomb on the plane?
Well,
yes.
Well, that is a thing because they have the dogs sniffing for bombs. The dogs are not sniffing for snakes. That's the whole thing. Like they check, they know how to check for
but
bombs.
likewise,
they
they're
made
not.
They made a comment about how they didn't catch them because they're cold-blooded or something. Like the scans of something, whether it's the dogs or something else, meant that they went undetected. But they still had all kinds of, even if it wasn't a bomb, the crate. Okay, so I'm doing a rundown of this fucking snake plan. Okay. So they had a whole bunch, like I'm guessing hundreds of these. Yeah. Of all different species of snakes from all over the world, just chilling and hanging out in this same big crate, which already doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. And then they've sprayed. It's like this crate is surrounded by these boxes of Lays that they're sending for some reason to California. You know what I mean? From Hawaii, because people, I guess, want Lays. And they've sprayed them all down with this pheromone. It's going to make the snakes go crazy. They're already kind of going crazy in the box, apparently, but not enough to kill each other. And then they have this elaborate. It's actually kind of a cool idea where they have like a not like a timer, but it's like tracking the altitude of the plane. So it knows once it gets to 30,000 feet to start the timer. And then the timer goes for more time for some reason, goes for another 20 minutes or whatever. And then
it's
once
for
that
dramatic
timer,
effect, Jack.
For dramatic effect of like a boop, boop. And then once the timer goes off, the crate like explodes open somehow. Right. And releases the snakes into the plane, and they're all hyped up on pheromones, and they immediately like start crawling through every single crevice of the plane, which apparently in a plane you can access. There are holes that lead to all places on the plane, just so you know, apparently. So they didn't make a bomb, but they built something that had the ability to burst open and
Certainly
has
a small bomb that they used to do that, I think.
some sort of some sort of pressurized gas or something.
Yeah.
And then they had all kinds of elaborate timers and sensors on it. This would register as a bomb to anyone that was looking for it. It's like they're trying to make it clear, like they can't just do a bomb, but they essentially put the snakes inside a thing that is like ostensibly a bomb to anyone checking security.
Well, maybe the pheromones surrounding it prevented the dog from smelling the bomb part.
Oh,
Yeah.
That actually might make sense.
It's from one scientist to another. That's just my theory on this.
Am I the other scientist?
I will let you two decide that amongst yourselves.
I think he just knighted you as a scientist. I think scientists can do that.
Can I be Sir Scientist?
I dub thee Sir Daniel of the laboratory.
I really wish that kind of shit happened in like, I could see academia being the place where like if you got your PhD, you know, like just like
There's
these
like a knighting
old fogies
ceremony.
being like, we knight you, Dr. Knight, have, you know, advanced biochemistry. Like,
Order of the Laboratory Empire. Did we ever find out how Eddie Kim discovered the old plane switcheroo was going to happen?
Yes,
sort of.
so the one of the students from Breaker High worked.
Is that real?
Yeah, works. He's one of the airport attendants. So there's a very quick scene where we see him being loaded onto the ship, or someone walks by that indicates
he
that
notices the feds taking their dogs onto this like
other
passenger
plane.
plane.
Right.
And so they're like, oh, they're trying to do a switcheroo. He's actually on this plane. And so,
in the amount of time it took for him to notice the dogs and then for them to board the plane and take off fairly immediately, he switches the bomb from the private jet to the public cargo hold.
yeah. And,
Okay.
and the bomb, this crate that the snakes are in, also the switcheroo originally was from a small like private jet in which this giant crate would never be loaded onto. It didn't make any sense. So
See, this I thoroughly. It was a thoroughly entertaining film.
yes.
I also watched it second, so I was comparing it directly to Airplane the whole time. But it walks. It doesn't walk the line very successfully of being a B movie or being like an actual kind of Hollywood action flick, because every time they do something stupid, like the crate switch thing, or they don't explain something, which you're fine with in a B movie, they take a turn and have very like serious, dramatic moments thrown in there, in around the boob bitings. So it's like it's hard to. I was really uncomfortable watching this film because I didn't really know what tone they were trying to set for me at any point.
They
I was also
started
wondering-
very silly, and they try and turn up the seriousness.
Yeah.
I think as they go, and go, no, we're a real movie now.
Or a real film.
Yeah.
Yeah, my biggest question was, did they also happen to just douse all of the female like private parts of the passengers in pheromones? Because these snakes, they only seem to want to go for vaginas and breasts.
Yeah. Oh, and the one penis.
And one penis. That
Yeah.
I guess the guy died from a dick bite.
The sex organ mutilation in this film was rough to watch. For me.
Yeah. Because it really starts trying to be like a sort of like teen horror flick or something. You know what I mean? Like it wants to appeal to that like young market that I think that they think likes that. So it has who is it? It's the guy. I originally thought it was like, oh my god, it's the Winter Soldier, but it's not. It's a guy who looks like it's not Sebastian.
It's John
Stan.
Carter
It's the guy who plays John Carter.
Oh, is that
and
is
Gambit. He
That, is
also
that our
plays
main
Gambit.
guy?
He's Gambit. He's the guy who just he's just the dude who tries to starts having sex with his girlfriend in the bathroom, and they're like the first people to die.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so a snake comes down and bites her well-casted breasts, and then he gets bit on the neck. The snakes are really good at biting necks. You know, snakes always do that, not like ankles and feet. So it bites him in the neck, And then like the next person to die is a guy who he goes to another one of the bathrooms and he takes out his dick and he says something like,
"How's my big boy?"
He's like, "Come on, big boy." Like
Yeah.
and then
It's very uncomfortable.
yeah.
I didn't
and then
even
he's
catch
like
that.
looking.
What?
Yeah, he says that, and then he's like looking at himself in the mirror as he's like peeing in this toilet, and then he like pees on the snake's head, and then it bites him on the dick.
Yeah.
And
And won't
then-
let go.
And then he proceeds to
go.
just smash his own head all over the bathroom.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like dies immediately.
Yeah.
like I think there are very few snake bites in like from the planet that you die from like that quickly. Like
Yeah.
I think the fastest one is still like 8 minutes, but not like 8 seconds.
Well, there was literally nobody else in the plane that got bit by a snake that died right away. They all, like, some of them lasted the entire flight.
And
Some of them,
Yep.
well, a bunch
like,
of the other
some of them died
passengers
shortly
strangled and
thereafter.
stuff. Yeah, but
but
Yeah.
I mean, and like the different snakes have different venom, and like I'll kind of buy that a bit. Like, you know, some of them, again, it maybe it's one of those things where if it were like Sean said, if it were just a B movie, you'd be like whatever. But then they bring in a whole character who's just like the snake scientist
Yeah.
on the ground, and it's like
Yeah.
that snake scientist doesn't do anything to help them.
okay, I want to talk about the snake scientist and the fact that there's a bunch of different snakes with a bunch of different venom, because they go. First of all, the timeline of this movie confuses me because they have enough time while the plane is still in the air to take a helicopter to like Texas or something. I don't know where they fly to.
I think it was, yeah. I think it was near LA because they were saying Eddie Kim shopped locally for his snakes.
Right. So they go and find the guy that sold the snakes to Eddie Kim, who also happens to have like a stockpile of anti-venom for all these different snakes. And then they bring the anti-venom to the runway where the plane is gonna land. And then they get the first patient in front of the scientist, and his question is, did anybody see the snake that bit this person?
Yeah.
So the entire plan is predicated on the assumption that any one of these people can identify the snake that bit them.
Correct.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to die.
Yeah. So Keenan
fucking
Thompson's buddy security officer dies.
Who got his ass
Dead.
bitten? Dead.
Straight dead.
For sure
He's
dead.
For sure dead.
And like the little boy who got his arm bitten, dead.
Yeah.
No, his brother drew.
Oh, his
a
brother
cobra.
drew a cobra,
Yeah.
right. His
Yeah.
brother drew a cobra.
And there's only one kind of cobra in the world. So how could...
You could at least have a guess.
Um,
Yeah, first of all, I really wanted that scientist. I thought of you, Dan, a little bit. I really wanted that Dan, the scientist, to be played by Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny. I was like, please, I know it's not.
so great.
Like if it were just
He does that in what movie is he a scientist
Pacific
in?
Rim.
Oh, Pacific Rim, right.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, he would be great as like this nervous, crazy scientist being like, I don't know how many snakes. There's a bunch of snakes, and just like losing it. I would have really enjoyed.
Well,
Really
and he would have
enjoyed that.
fit. He would have fit perfectly. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if he would have fit into this movie.
If it was a B movie, but again, they kind of try to go into like serious movie. Like it should have been the scientist should have been like odd,
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
just
should
like
have been not just like a loser, like
an
the cast, just like a weirdo.
an eccentric, someone
Yeah.
who's really into snakes. There was a guy I went to high school with who, like, not even in like a teasing way, was known as Snake Boy because he loved snakes. He looked kind of odd. He had like long, straggly hair, and he like his dream was to just work at like the zoo or like work with reptiles. He loved snakes. He had a bunch of snakes at home, and he was like Snake Boy, and he was like this pretty odd, eccentric guy. And I was like, it should be. I want Snake Boy up there. He would
Well-
represent so well.
Yeah, I mean, you're missing out. He also shot snakes from his sleeves, right?
I think you're thinking of Snake Man.
Oh, Snake Man,
Yeah,
of course.
you're Snake
right.
Man.
Oh, every time.
I had no idea what you were talking about.
Snake Boy.
He was totally cool with it, as far as I know. He was like, "Yep, that's me."
Nice.
Even though people were clearly making fun of him.
Oh, but I think he didn't really care for people. Like he thought
Right.
snakes were cool. I think it's one of those
Like, when
things where he
snakes
was
rule
like,
the world, you'll rue the day.
yeah,
Put on Alice Cooper in the background, just rocked out with his lizards.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like power to that guy. I wonder where he is.
He's a snake now.
He's a snake now.
He's fully transitioned.
I
And if so, again, power to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie is ridiculous. There's a lot of characters in it that are very frustrating, which is not fun for a B movie. Like there are people like Sam Jackson is fine. Like Sam Jackson is pretty fun. He holds this movie together. And also his partner, who doesn't have a big role, doesn't say much, is actually dope. He's great. Again, it becomes this dramatic moment, but his death is actually really good.
Is that when they
Okay.
they
I was
rip
gonna
open
say
his
the
shirt
opposite.
and they reveal the bite?
That
Yeah.
moment was good, but I didn't really. Their friendship to me was just like it wasn't reinforced with anything up to that point. So when he died, the moment was good, but I did not care about his best friend dying at all.
Yeah, and I also
I didn't care, but I thought the performer was good. I was like, this actor is actually like quite good in a movie full of bad actors.
I also kind of disagree though that Sam Jackson held this movie together. I mean, he does, but he felt wasted.
He
in
gets
this film.
sidelined.
He gets
He
sidelined.
ends up just
and,
being
like,
on the phone for most of the time. Like the rest of the passengers are trying to solve these snake problems, and he's like, "Guys, keep it down. I'm on the phone with the feds."
I still
Yeah.
think the star is Juliana Margulies.
So then why did you guys give me shit earlier when I said starring Juliana Margulies?
I mean, it was
I
only
didn't.
me.
Yeah.
I'm not a
true.
scientist, so
Yeah. It's true. That's why he's not a scientist, Daniel, like you and I.
And you never will be. Ha.
I've questioned the star power of Julia.
Hey, she's a
Margulies.
star, man. She ran like 15 seasons of VR and had her own TV show.
Great.
True.
I just
She's dope.
never. I don't know any of those shows, so for me, it's just like some random.
Right.
But I believe you.
How dare
as,
you?
as a scientist, I should make a PSA for anyone listening. Don't suck venom from a snake bite. That does
Yeah,
nothing
seriously.
except kill you too. So
Well,
It's
don't ever
not
do
a
that.
thing.
Unless you've gargled olive oil first.
Yeah, swish some
Right,
olive
yeah.
oil around.
So, yeah,
Then you're fine.
You know, that gives it really allows the crust to form when it's cooking after, it's been in the oven for 400.
It coats your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When-
that was so ridiculous. I will say that scene was one of the only moments in this movie where I actually cringed. The bursting of
Yeah, it was horrible. Oh.
It was horribly
Pussy
great.
wound.
Yeah, it was awesome when they popped the fucking boil on the
wrist.
kid's arm.
Yeah.
But then it was immediately undercut by the rapper's bodyguards getting super gross about watching the woman suck the venom out of a child.
Oh, yeah, what does he say? He says like,
Because one of the guys, it was I think offered to him first that the venom needed to be sucked out of his butt, and he was like, "They're gonna be no sucking." And then the flight attendant guy who they've been teasing is gay offers, and he's like, "No way,
No
right?"
way.
And you're like, this joke is pretty lame. And then he sees like the hot Latino mom sucking it out of the kid, and then all of a sudden these guys are like, "Oh yeah, I've been bit too."
no, that's what I'm talking about. One of them says.
Yeah, one of my notes is every guy in this movie is a dirty pig always.
Yeah, except Sam Jackson. He
Sam Jackson
respectfully,
isn't.
No, he's
asks,
he's also a pig. He also makes comments to this movie where he's like, yeah, back in my day. Or he has a couple comments as well. And then
What does Sean do? Sean's pretty quiet and tame and like non-existent in this film.
Yeah, he's useless.
he's useless.
Yeah, where does he
But
go?
also when the flight attendant comes out and is like giving him her like flirty.
Yeah.
Like,
I
her
love that
flirty
scene.
Thing.
I-
He's like
I thought
squirming
that-
in his chair, like.
I thought that bit was so funny. I thought that uncomfortable moment with him and the flight attendant was great. I thought that the little like sassy attitude they gave the male flight attendant was great. I thought that whole bit was funny.
The flight attendant team wasn't bad.
Solid.
I like
held the
them.
ground. I had issues with the mid 2000s, the not gays that they had to enforce to all the male characters that interacted with him.
Yeah.
Just in
Right.
case he didn't have a stunningly beautiful blonde girlfriend at the end of the film like he did. But everyone had to be like, whoa, oh, I'm not gay, man. I don't need to be around you right now. I'm
I
not
don't
gay.
have a case
No,
of the
no,
not
no.
gays, or I have a really strong case of the not gays.
Yeah.
Whereas it would have been like a better moment just for like that bodyguard guy to be like, yeah, man, do it. And
Yeah,
then
suck
just-
my butt.
Like that'd been funny. And then for like the rapper 3Gs that they're escorting, who's like a germaphobe. He had some fun squirmy moments. Actually, he could be kind of funny.
The dog scene was pretty fun.
The dog scene wasn't bad. and he does like a shot of someone. The guy sneezes on his hands, and he like holds them up, and he wipes them on his pants, and it cuts back to 3Gs. And his expression was actually really funny, where he's just like, oh, like you can tell he's like, oh my god.
And then later he's sitting next to that guy in the I think the front section, and the guy's really germy again, and he's sitting right next to him, and he gets up, he's like, I've had enough, and he's changed into this like tourist t-shirt thing, and he looks completely ridiculous.
I also just remembered that our introduction to 3Gs is him literally like sexually assaulting a fan.
Yeah, he grabs her boob,
groping her boob to sign her shirt, her boob.
Yeah. She like put it in his hand, sort of.
She's what? Sorry.
No,
She presents it.
Well, she put her chest out, and then he grabs it and kind of like gropes it, and then her response is, "Hee, that tickles."
Yeah. That's consent to me.
Oh, Sean. What are you doing?
Ruining this podcast.
Well, this has been a great run so far. This is our last episode. Yeah, other characters. You have 3Gs and his bodyguards. Bodyguards played by Kenan Thompson, who's actually really good. He's great. He brings together the end of the movie actually pretty well. Mm-hmm. And then other guy.
Who should have been played by Hannibal Buress. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But
or the guy
wasn't on the scene yet.
Or the guy who plays the henchman of Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad. Not Bill Burr, but the other guy.
Yeah, Lenny something, right?
Yeah, he would have been great.
He'd also would have been awesome. And then we have people who I really wanted to die that didn't, like Mercedes.
I was happy she lived. She was fun.
What? Oh my god, I hated her constantly.
I hated her dog.
Yeah.
No, I was sad when her dog died. It should have been her.
Yeah, I mean I made something a note about that too, about like, so there's her, and then there's like this really like he's just like he's supposed to be typical. They even made him British, sort of British, like the rude, wealthy guy.
Yeah, like the Kelsey Grammer British.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's just like rude to everyone all the time. He's always upset about anything, and then he dies, which is great because he sucked. But he throws her dog at this like really big fantasy snake. It's a snake that definitely doesn't exist. It's like the size of an anaconda.
Yeah, I thought it was just an anaconda.
But its head shape was made up. It was it doesn't. I don't think it's a real snake. It
was like a super snake.
It's some sort of super snake. It was a giant, super crazy anaconda.
It's the Jurassic World snake.
Yeah. And so it's like coming, and then dude throws the dog at it and the snake eats it like right away as like a distraction, which is like it's messed up, but also like they were gonna die.
Yeah.
And then she freaks out so much and screams at him that he still dies, and it eats him. And it's one of those things where it's like you don't like him, and it's like he's one of those characters that you're like, yeah, you probably die in this movie, but he still died because of her. And also himself, like he didn't get himself out of there. I made a note about how people in this movie are really bad at not dying.
Yeah. Yes.
How much they kill themselves by like overrunning the stairs and like breaking the railings and falling onto spiky things, and like there's a bunch of random deaths of like the heels breaking deaths, in someone's ear.
The heel in
his
face and all the face impalements were again past the line. The same line as like the boob bite, and just like violence that if they'd done it artistically would have been more effective than just shoving a spike through someone's face or having a woman's high heel go through like an earlobe or an ear socket kind of thing.
Into a dude's ear and breaking off.
I thought that was great. I thought the falling from the railing and landing on glass and spikes was too much and a little over the top, but I thought that the
trampling moment was actually a bit real.
Because like that shit happens. People get trampled to death all the time in chaos. It was just like
but a heel isn't going to penetrate all the way into someone's ear.
Why not?
Maybe
why wouldn't it?
Maybe there's a second movie in here where she's been planning his death for a long time and was just waiting for a crowded panic.
That'd be a cool movie too, like a mystery murder on a plane. It's probably been made.
Yeah, it's like a Poirot, like an Agatha Christie Poirot mystery, but set on a plane where snakes also are.
but also snakes. Like
Yeah.
raise the stakes,
Raise the snakes.
add some snakes.
Yeah,
But I think the snakes are just passengers on the plane in this movie.
Oh, so wait, so is there a snake Poirot now? Is there a snake Poirot who's also solving a mystery amongst the snakes?
Yeah, he wears like a
Yeah.
Sherlock
Oh.
Holmes hat and has like a pipe in his mouth.
Oh,
This is like just an
beautiful. This is
episode
the
of Rick
film.
and Morty now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love a murder on the Orient Express.
Oh god damn it! Sean.
Oh, fuck you, Sean.
Stop it.
Also,
okay.
Jack, how much time do we have in that timer that I'm sure we started?
I did start it actually.
Did you
I
really?
remember, I remember it after a bit, but I did start it. We got 33 minutes from the random time that I decided.
Great.
For anyone that's wondering, we just have a timer because we're trying to keep this podcast no more than 2 hours an episode, and so the timer just helps us keep a sort of to a time.
Sometimes it helps us do
It
stuff.
has. It's helped. It's helped.
It's helped. Other things, okay, I got to make fun of in this movie because there's a lot of things that we need to make fun of. I want to give a laughing shout out to snake vision, how the number of shots that are from the snake perspective are like this weird green, like glowing light vision that they use so much that I'm like, did you think this was cool? It's also not like really clear what they're seeing in most of the shots. It looks mostly just like a blurry mess.
Well, snakes, I was wondering about that because snakes don't actually see, right? They navigate their surroundings by like smelling with their tongue, don't they?
Yeah.
But they have I think they do have a rudimentary sight. Like they have eyes. But they
Which is what I think they were
mostly-
going for with the snake vision in this film. It's like kind of just, it's like
But then-
sonar almost. So you
And
can
it's
kind of see
green
like
because they're
light and shapes.
lizards.
They're green,
Right.
Because it's snake vision. But then why show it to us? It was just like I don't know.
I also did not like snake vision. I thought snake vision completely collapsed momentum every time it came to it. They'd be building up suspense and then it would switch to the snake's perspective and it was just
Like-
this like blurry mess of green across the screen. Yeah.
And it seemed like way too intuitive. Like the snake was like following Sam Jackson's hand as he was like switching levers.
Yeah.
Like ooh, ah.
It's weird that the snakes all had the same vision as the director of photography on this film.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't love that, but what I really did love was popping a crisp Red Bull after this movie. I don't know why I was really craving it, but
I don't know either.
I really just wanted a Red Bull.
Huh.
Can't explain why.
Was there a bunch of Red Bull in this? I only caught one can of Red Bull in this
Are
movie.
you joking right now?
It keeps coming
No.
up. I think it's the same can keeps
It's
popping up.
it was
the one-
at the top of the movie they have our guy who witnessed the murder. He's like motorcycling around Honolulu, right? He's living his dream life. Stop, like cracks a Red Bull, like and like and has some of that until he witnesses the murder and he's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then he gets home and he's looking at the news and just like kind of out of focus, but next to the TV is literally a case, like
Red
two
Bull?
cases of Red Bull.
Oh my god.
And I was like, oh, more Red Bull. And then I fucking lost it. It's so funny that when he's been picked up by Sam Jackson or whatever, and they brought him, there's like sort of interrogating him. They just want him to like admit what he saw and yada yada. And Sam Jackson pulls out the can of Red Bull and an evidence bag. And he's like, your prints are all over the place. We know you were there. And I was like, shit, the Red Bull can is evidence.
Yep.
That's some really ballsy product placement, like next level. Right up there with Sam Jackson's line at the end of the movie, all praises to the PlayStation.
Which I wrote down as a like. Actually, I kind of love that moment.
It's pretty. It's I like that's the place in a B movie of like you should be so like ballsy and forward with your product placement. I think it's very funny. Because like
Well, they also had Kenan Thompson on the PSP the entire movie, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But like people play games.
Was this a Sony film?
Like I get it, you know.
I know it's New Line, the same studio that brought us Lord of the Rings, brought us this masterpiece of cinema.
I mean, if it wasn't, it was sponsored by them for sure.
Yeah. Oh, what was I going to say? I completely forget. Someone else
That's
talk.
okay. Also, speaking of Sam Jackson finding him at the beginning of the movie, it's also like inexplicable that this movie really wants you to not think about the establishing premise of it. It really just wants to get to the snakes on the plane part, and wants you to forget about how we got there, how we kind of talked about with how the snakes get there and how people find it, and all that kind of stuff. because it's also really loose from the beginning of Sean, the surfer dude, sees this murder, and it's first of all also it's hilarious during that scene. The Eddie Kim is like trying to talk smack to this prosecutor guy who's hanging upside down. And the guy keeps rotating on the rope.
So he has to like follow him around.
He keeps putting his hand on him to turn his face back towards him, and then eventually he gives up and he just delivers his like a couple lines to this dude as he's slowly rotating.
It was a one-take scene.
Oh my god, it was so funny. And then they realize that the dude had seen them because Sean, the biker dude, had jumped on his motorcycle and sped away instead of quietly remaining hidden, whatever. And then somehow they managed to find him by tracking.
Having never seen his face.
Never seen his face.
Never
and
saw
just
his face.
tracking a random motorcycle. Like straight up impossible.
Yeah.
But both they and Sam Jackson find this guy.
Oh yeah.
In a way
they have satellites.
Oh,
and
sorry.
Espionage to
But they're just
look
like,
at.
don't think about this movie.
Yeah.
Well, Sam Jackson would have found him because they could have traced the address of the person whose fingerprints were on the Red Bull can.
If he's in the system
I
already.
guess so. But it was like next
If
to
he's in the
it was like
system
next
already,
to a
that's true.
bridge. It could just be
Yeah.
litter. You know what I mean? Like it could just be someone. People throw cans out of their cars all the time. Anyway,
I half expected in that opening scene where our protagonist question mark is motorbiking through the mountains of Hawaii, and shot after shot of him doing these like cool turns and stuff, and I fully expected Queen Latifah to take off a helmet after they came back from that.
Yeah.
it'd be fun if that character was played by Queen Latifah. She's fun.
Right? That would be Sam
The
Jackson
dude-
and Queen Latifah in a witness escort plane movie. Fuck yes.
About snakes, because
That's
Queen
it.
Latifah would have been a much better person to react in those scenes. The actor was terrible. The guy who played Sean,
Oh, yeah.
He's probably a surf
hated
dude.
him, dude. He was brutal.
Did we see him surf at all before the end of the movie?
No,
No, he just does
No.
extreme sports.
Right.
yo.
We just saw him on the bike first, right?
Bruh.
We see a lot of other people surfing in the 15-minute opening credit sequence.
And he doesn't do anything heroic until like the hour 10 mark when he like he like saves the waitress at some point, and I think that's the first heroic deed he does.
well, there's like so first of all, this plane is like a super plane that's huge. It's enormous. It's wider than any plane I've ever seen. And there's like this upstairs first class where they booked off the entire thing because that's not suspicious. To have Sean up there, and Sam Jackson is like, you stay up here, you have to stay safe, because if you die, this is all for nothing, which is like true. And eventually he ignores that and he runs down and he saves the flirty stewardess from the apparently super deadly drink carts.
yes, that's
They
what
become murder carts, by the way. Just so you know, if a plane starts to go tilty too fast, they kill you.
murder cards.
They crushed that married couple back against the wall until they were brutally bitten multiple times by snakes.
Good. They were annoying people.
Yeah, well, you know,
Yeah,
they chose to take that flight, so
they
it's
were
really
in
on
love,
them.
and it was disgusting.
Yeah,
Was that the couple with the really paranoid husband
Yeah, who was allergic to the pheromones in the lay.
yeah.
and like
Yeah.
addicted to Xanax or something?
Well,
Sure.
He's taking Xanax to calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
his
their death scenes
reaction,
suck.
to when a snake popped down from the overhead compartment in front of him, though, was funny. Like it was a scream of like, I knew it. Like, this is exactly what I feared. Like it was very funny. Like it was a very specific yell. So yeah, this movie is a big old mess.
We haven't talked about the kickboxer.
The kickboxer is cool.
Yeah, he does some cool stuff, but he's definitely a like third version rewrite character.
Oh, that's so true. Shit, that's so true. He saves Mercedes. He's like generally calm the whole movie, which is
Kickboxing a snake.
nice.
He
Yeah,
kicks it out of thin air. Although
he grabs it.
his introduction scene with the effeminate but straight flight attendant is when he's saying like, "Oh, I go to this dojo down in
Great
LA."
cardio.
You know? Yeah,
Great
and the
cardio.
like kickboxing fight champion is like,
Cool.
Okay, yeah,
Cool. But yeah, he's like this random dude on the plane who had been at a kickboxing competition, and he just becomes like just a guy who's like generally calm and like helps deal with situations. And I liked him for that. I liked him.
Daniel, yes
Yeah.
or no? Yes or no? The
Yes.
song "Bring It." Bracket Snakes on a Plane end bracket by the band Cobra Starship is
Yep.
the greatest credit song of all time.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
It's still stuck in my head. I actually wanted to like blow my brains out during that end credits.
It's
sequence.
a crime against humanity.
It's so fucking bad.
The
But
chorus,
like,
the
I'm
chorus
gonna dream
makes
about
you
it
wanna
for
die.
a week.
Oh,
And the fact
it
that they
happens right away.
shoehorned it into the credits
Yeah.
made me hate everybody who made this movie.
yep. And Sam
Yeah.
Jackson appears in the music video, and you can tell he hates the like hour he had to spend on set at this music video thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, it was super rough. I like the girl in the band though. I'm not too familiar with that band, but she pops.
She pops.
I thought she was absolutely terrifying.
No, I liked her, man. She had like a little fucking Mick Jagger thing going on. She was
yeah,
channeling
I think she's
Mick.
the guitarist in the band.
Ooh, I love me a good guitarist.
Her only lyric
further.
is, "Oh, I'm ready for it."
And then there was the really great and popular at the time spoken word breakdown for the bridge by the fourth member of the band who pops up for that.
The like
Yeah, you know,
sort of
the-
rap.
Yeah, like the pop rapper. That's every really credible pop band needs a rapper.
It's very hot in 2006.
Yeah.
That song format stuff.
Also, I couldn't believe this movie came out in 2006.
Yeah, I thought it was like closer to us than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the tech really shows. Like the rapper is signing CDs, and
Yeah.
and the character Mercedes has like this old, like it's like the first cell phone with a
BlackBerry.
camera in it. There's flip phone
Right.
camera thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Because
all
they
the
have-
CGI is awful in this film too.
And it's, yeah, I mean it's fine if I'm being honest for like what the movie is.
It's better than
It's-
some we have now currently. And
Yeah, exactly.
It's
some
noticeable.
sure, but we're talking about a movie starring Samuel L. Jackson, like we're talking about a movie that's supposed to be like a big budget blockbuster.
Well, that's
I
the
mean-
thing. Like, it's not.
I mean,
he's-
it's better than the Clone Wars movie.
yes.
So
When did
not
that
as
one
Sam
come out?
Jackson.
2000
I don't know.
Oh, but Sam Jackson signed on to this film not because it was a big blockbuster thing, but he read the title and then he read the script and he was like, I remember going to these kinds of films when I was a boy, and this really like inspiring me to become an actor and do these kinds of things. So he wanted to do this kind of film too. I don't think he got paid very much, like relative to
To what
other
he was-
films he
what he
could
can
have done. And people like gave him shit for being in the movie, and he was like, I just want to have some fun,
Yeah, I respect it so much.
lighten up.
Yeah, he was like, it's just a fun time. It's gonna be fun if that's okay.
And this movie is in that golden age of the internet where they were marketing it, and the early like internet forums got wind of it, and they started like writing their own stuff, imagining what could have been in the film, and just having a ball with Sam Jackson on a plane with snakes. And the film actually did 5 days of reshoots to
Yeah, I read
incorporate some of that fan stuff, which that is beautiful that the internet can intercede but in the artistic process and create a movie that is both like of the artistic creators but also of the fan base it's serving. Like that is a beautiful internet moment, and instead the internet we have right now is a like fiery cesspool of human disgustingness.
I mean, I'm sure it still had that element back in 2006.
Sure.
And the internet still influences things today. It's just what I think is really funny is the fact that the film went out of their way to just like do all this fan service and still like saw
Still bombed.
no payoff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's certainly not a turd of a film. It's just kind of a film.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
once the snakes are loose on the plane, the whole thing kind of became like white noise.
Yeah.
I kind like my brain kind of just stopped being able to process what was happening because I feel like I was really engaged for like 15 minutes of just scene after scene of people gratuitously dying. And then it's like I forgot I was watching a movie. Like it became such a wash.
Yeah. I think
thought.
if I can rewrite this film, if I go to 2006 and they say, Sean, do another draft of this. So the snake timer, that they have that releases the snakes, blows the thing. I think that should have been like a timer that had different stages. So the first timer goes off and you get all the little baby snakes that go through the plane and like bite people and cause chaos, and everyone starts freaking out. And then like half an hour later, boop, boop, and another like compartment opens up and it's the like more venomous snakes and they're larger and they're crawling out until finally you get the like, oh, it's been an hour and a half since the first wave of snakes, and the like giant python slowly rolls out of the cage and makes his way towards the chaos. That'd be cool.
I mean, maybe.
Oh, come on. Get an imagination.
What I would have liked more is like a Russian doll of snakes. So the first big snake comes first, but the big snake actually like barfs up little snakes.
Right. So you want an alien movie is what you're saying.
I would like it too if like how they got the snakes on the plane was more ridiculous. That they like paid a couple people to like smuggle them on their person. So there was like a person like in a fat suit or like a person that was like in like a big sweatsuit and they were like looking really uncomfortable and they were like, yes, that's that. Like you see them going through like giving their passport, and then like all of a sudden like again they're like and like all these like snakes come out of their sleeves and out of their pants and stuff, and then
there's one person that is just a bunch of snakes in a trench coat.
yes.
Yeah.
That would be good. I also would have liked if maybe one of the snakes had like a crisis of conscience.
Yeah. It's the Poirot snake.
Yeah, so midway through he's about to kill somebody and suddenly he can't bring himself to do it, and then there's a whole scene with like him and Sam Jackson where they unpack his psychological issues, and then the snake turns on his other snake friends and like gives them the secret to defeating them all.
Yeah.
That's my Snakes on a Plane movie.
That's a classic third act turn, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of turn, let's transition actually because we don't have a ton of time. Yeah, let's turn over. We only have like 15 minutes.
No.
Let's talk about Airplane. But I think honestly, there's way more to talk about with Snakes on a Plane. I don't have a ton of notes, if I'm being honest, for Airplane
my
because I
notes
mostly
for
just like
Airplane-
watched the movie and had a good time.
Yeah.
My notes for Airplane is literally just a list of jokes. Like I just started writing down gags they were doing, and then at a certain point I was like, oh right, there isn't really a movie here beyond just like a series of gags.
The script
barely.
I don't know, Daniel or Jack, if you read the Wikipedia page, but the script
I skimmed it. I glanced at it.
So the script is actually it's lifted mostly wholesale in certain parts from a like 50s plane drama, I think called like 0 Hour or something like that, about a flight from Winnipeg to Vancouver.
Hey, those are Canadian towns.
Yeah, but it's the exact same. It's the exact same. He gets on the plane because his partner is a flight attendant. He had a bad experience in the war, which in the 50s actually meant a war, not just this like weird war that they're talking about in Airplane. And the people who have fish on the plane during meal service get sick. They can't land in Calgary because fog is keeping them from going down.
So it's like
cloud
legitimately like based on a thing.
Stolen. They saw it. The Zucker brothers saw it on late night TV, and they were like, "We want to do our thing, but to that movie." And that was in '75. So over like 5 years, they developed it to what it became. But originally, it was just a send up of that exact script.
So they essentially pitched a parody movie of like a CW movie, like a CW made for TV movie. That was so no one knew what the parody was based on.
I guess not. I don't know.
But I also read the initial script had like a series of parody commercials in them too.
Yeah, because they were like a comedy theater troupe, so they had a lot of like skits and bits that they wanted in there.
Skits and Bits. That's a great name for a show.
Skits and bits.
Our next
Skits
podcast.
and Bits.
Yeah, skits and bits.
Skits and bits. But
my main
yeah,
note
go ahead.
for Airplane is aren't black people funny?
Yeah. The late 70s, early 80s sensibilities are not quite our own.
Yeah, I was there was a lot of stuff that I excused in this film because I was like, oh, it was the 80s and like it's actually handled in a way that's like makes it still kind of funny now. But then every
Yeah.
time they had a black person on screen, I was like,
Like when they visit the tribe in Africa, and he teaches them how to play basketball. And by teaches, I mean he gives them a basketball, and then they're just amazing at it.
they're like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still funny. I mean,
yeah,
like,
well, yeah.
like, anyway, like it's one of those things that I like, again, very aware that it's like, it's not something that we would do now for like many reasons. But like the very first, like the fact that there are just like two guys that are black on the plane and that they speak jive. It's like the first scene is like actually pretty funny that they like order in jive to the stewardess and she's like, and then it's like walks away. And then the second scene where like this older woman is like, it's okay, I speak jive. And then it becomes about her like sassing them back in jive. And I was like, no, we don't want that. It's just, you know.
And I had the same kind of feeling with the the young boy who brings coffee to the young girl, and they're both in their like Sunday finest. And he offers her the coffee, and may I sit down? Oh yes, of course. And it's clear they're doing the like pickup scene parody. And do you want cream in your coffee? And she turns to him and says, no, I like my coffee like I like my men, black. And I was like, oh, that's not funny, but I'm laughing now.
It is funny. It would have been funnier if it didn't come on the heels of another joke about black people, like literally a scene before it.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where it's like this movie is clearly a joke.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Whereas like you might hear jokes about race and gender or anything, right? And gonna go, oh, but how serious are you being? This you should never watch this movie and construe anything in it as being serious. It's all completely freaking bonkers, right? Yeah. But I think the context is at least like the foundation of the context has been laid well enough. Obviously, like old movie. I actually found what I thought was the kind of most insensitive joke they made was first they made it starts as a funny sort of bit where Stryker keeps telling his stories, like his war stories, to random passengers, and they keep actually killing themselves because it's so boring. And so he's telling this old woman, and she like rolls her eyes, and then he finishes the flashback, and it comes out, and you see her feet like dangling next to him. But then how they advance the joke is really bad that it cuts to like it's like a kind of like Eddie Hong or something like that, but he's like this pretty well known. He does like the voice of the father in like the Kung Fu Panda movies and stuff like that. Like he's a pretty established Asian actor, and he's like this Japanese general who like commits seppuku, like stabs himself, and you're like, oh, okay. And then the third one is a guy in a turban who is clearly in brown face and who pours gasoline on himself, and he's about to like immolate himself. And I was like, did you just generally think of like Southern Asia when you because what are you talking about, and what are you showing us, and why is this person in brown face and in a turban, and what are you doing? Like it was a really like moment.
It might need mentioning that one of the Zucker brothers who made this film and are responsible for a lot of the comedies of the like late 80s through the early 2000s, one of the Zucker brothers has gone kind of like crazy nationalist right-wing identity politics are stupid.
Really?
Yeah, so that certainly is in this film for sure.
He was like, look, we made fun of all people in our movies, and all the leads were white, and we made all the money from it, so racism doesn't exist. Duh.
To be fair, one of the biggest laughs I did have was when she's looking through. She's asking for something to read, and she says, "Do you have something light?" And she hands her the tiny little pamphlet of Jewish sports legends. It's a great joke.
It's a pretty good joke. This movie has so many good bits in it. Like we kind of hinted at before, almost too many. Like it's a bit much by the end. Like this movie is like barely an hour and a half. And even still, once you hit that hour mark, you're like, okay, thank you for the bits, but please stop. And then they hit
please
an
just show me a
good
movie
one.
now.
I think it knows that too, because as soon as they land the plane, like we get the hug and kiss from our protagonist and our protagonia. Don't gender that word. And then the autopilot kicks in with his new autopilot girlfriend, and they take off into the sky, and it's beautiful sunset. The end.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking died at the autopilot. Not like I remember the blowjob joke from when I first saw this movie when I was a kid, and I was like, okay, that's a cheap joke. But when she's doing it and his head turns to the camera and then he kind of just like sloppily knocks his head.
And then the joke pays off even more afterwards when she's over on her side smoking and he's got a cigarette taped to his face, and she like is giving him the best fuck me eyes that I have ever seen on film.
Yeah.
And just like, oh, she sells the bit perfectly. She's really good in this film.
Yeah.
I was genuinely like perplexed as to how they did some of that. They have this inflatable autopilot that comes up if you're not familiar. And like, I genuinely don't know how they did some of like the bits with him, of how they made him inflate and like grab onto the wheel after being inflated and like, and do stuff.
I feel like
it
it's
was
just got to be really good puppet work.
Yeah, they had people like his hands had rods in them to be guided, but it was done like really seamlessly. Like I've never seen an effect like that before or after.
Yeah. And some of the stunts in this film, I was noticing for the first time, like very early on,
when they drive a plane through a window.
Yeah, that's expensive as fuck.
Yeah.
And all the extras were right there when it crashed through, so it took a lot of corralling and designing. And there's like the fight scene between the Girl Scouts.
So good.
Great.
That was really good.
It's such a good fight. It's so clean.
When she's dancing with him in the Saturday Night Fever parody, which I now fully understand thanks to this podcast. And she's spinning him and Let's Go, and he goes flying. And they actually have like a trampolinist, I think, like bounce in and fly off screen, because it's not just a dummy; it's an actual like body that gets flung.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really cool stunts they had to practically do.
Yeah.
Although I will say for that scene, I've like you, Sean, seen this movie more times than I can count, and that was the first time that I just blatantly saw the cables,
The wires.
the
cables
wires
on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few
It's so
cable
funny
moments.
though. He starts doing all these dance moves on the floor, and I was like, oh, he for sure on the day was like, hey guys, look, I can do this, and started like making up some dance moves, and then they threw him some balls to juggle. But it's so ridiculous and so funny. I love that whole flashback. I think it's so funny. The guy who starts dancing when the disco music comes on, the very first guy next to the juice
he's
box,
leaning on the
Like the
jukebox.
old sailor.
yeah, he's like this, like the dirtiest looking sailor dude, and how he starts dancing is fucking hilarious. He is the star of the movie.
My favorite part about that is that he like slowly and like awkwardly jerks himself off a wall.
Yeah.
And then he takes his jacket off and just flips a bowl of peanuts before he hits the dance floor.
Yeah.
I'm so my general note for the movie is like this movie has like fine acting in it, and what I mean is that like and what's so impressive is that it seems like they had everyone, like even the extras, like anyone who's peripherally involved in this film seemed to know what kind of movie they were making.
Yeah.
And that's so impressive.
And hiring hiring Leslie Nielsen, Robert Stack, Peter Graves, Lloyd Bridges. These are all people that, like, before that were just making these kinds of films, but serious. And to have them all sign on and agree to lampoon themselves like this. Also, Ethel Merman as the soldier who thinks he's Ethel Merman.
So good.
He's got it bad. He thinks he's Ethel Merman.
Yeah, they got all of these people, and this was only their second film. To get all these people to agree to go on and just be utter turds of themselves is brilliant.
Yo, I fucking love Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah.
God, I love Lloyd Bridges.
To watch him slowly disintegrate as he keeps taking more substances.
Yeah, chose the wrong day to quit sniffing glue.
Sniffing glue, and he just gets fucked off his tank at the end.
But kind of to your point, Sean, this was Leslie Nielsen's very first comedy role, right? But I think he was like already eager to get into comedy, so he was itching to get into the movie. But they had to basically beg Robert Stack to be in it, because at first he turned it down, and then apparently he came on. You probably read the same page I did. He came on and he started doing like a really kind of straight deadpan character, and they're like, no, it's not quite there. So they showed him a video of a comedian doing an impression of Robert Stack, and they're like, we want you to do this. So the whole movie he's actually like doing an impression of a comedian doing an impression of himself in the movie.
Billy, have you ever been to a Turkish bath?
Oh, that's Robert Stack. Okay, I was going to ask, those like weird pedophile questions are... Billy, do you like movies about gladiators? They're some of the funniest lines.
You ever hung around the men's locker room, Billy?
Because they're not explicitly about, like, you kind of read it as being this kind of...
Yeah, he's a horrifying human being.
But the questions themselves the progression of them is just too funny. Like, they've made a topic that you wouldn't normally laugh at too much very funny. Have you ever been to a Turkish bath?
I am so happy you suggested this film. I watched this early on in the pandemic, just as a time killer movie, and I think everything was still too like real and terrifying for me, so it didn't really scratch my itch. But watching it this time, I was just so engaged and finding new things. I've seen this film so many times, and I still picked up on new funny things that were happening.
What did you notice this time around?
There's so many things.
I really noticed that Lloyd Bridges' progression into inebriation this time. That really came out.
Right.
The little pamphlet thing. That's the first time I actually picked up on that, and I for the first time picked up on the skill it took as they're taking off. And they're all doing the Roger, Victor, your vector is over, under, over and out. Roger, done? Are you done?
We have
no,
the clearance,
Victor,
Clarence,
Victor.
And the Victor, Victor, yeah.
Yeah, the skill it takes to do that. Obviously, I can't do it, but like that's phenomenal.
Yeah, they had to like actually rehearse that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This movie has so many things to enjoy.
That was probably the only part of this movie where I enjoyed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, though, I will say.
He's not that good at all.
No, he's not.
That is an understatement. He's
a sports star.
He's
in a
horrendous,
film.
And it's
the
obviously
when
like
he pulls the kid in is actually it's like a little funny.
Yeah, but the rest of that scene is fucking hard to watch. It's brutal.
It's funny that once he passes out and then they go to remove him, he's
wearing his goggles and his basketball shorts.
My dad says you don't play very hard on defense.
I'm out there busting my ass, man. Every night.
You try dragging them up and down the court like I do.
Yeah,
so good.
That's the thing. Like, we could probably just spend so much time just talking about like bits that we enjoyed, because that's really what this movie is. It's a series of bits that have somehow been sewn together into like this like Frankenstein of a movie that still has like a super simple plot that you can follow. But there's this stupid shit like how he has developed a drinking problem, and it means
God,
pouring liquid into his head.
I love it.
I thought that was so funny.
So one thing I don't want to get into all the individual bits, but before we run out of time, we're about to run out of time. But I'll mention it as a like in a moment, because in a few seconds we're gonna be stopped.
In the time that you
So-
were waiting, you could have just said your point.
I
Probably.
don't know if I could have. I think I didn't. I couldn't.
Can you say it in a light? Oh,
Oh, look at
that.
how to perfectly stall?
My word. And what does that mean, Jack?
Well, that timer means that that's the end of us just talking about whatever, and it means that any further things we want to mention can just be quickly resolved in our lightning round, likes and gripes.
Can we add that sound effect
Likes
in?
and gripes.
I guess that's thunder.
Grapes. So let
Was
me
that
let me.
thunder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'll begin with by finishing my point as a broad like, which is that I like how much this movie relies on all elements of filmmaking for jokes. That there are jokes involving green screens, there are jokes involving miniatures, inflatables. The first joke of the movie is about like these voiceovers talking about parking zones.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. There are things involving character stuff, random like dude stepping through what you think is a mirror, but it's not a mirror, like just like set tricks. They use everything you can think of like how we make movies to make jokes. And that is incredible in this movie. That it's not just like improv, it's not just lines, they're using everything at their disposal for jokes, and that helps keep it fresh through the movie, in my opinion. So that's a big old like for me. Again, I already mentioned how much I loved that Girl Scout fight. That was a big old like.
Yeah.
And then nothing else that I didn't already mention, honestly. Like, and then I just like, yeah, there's some pretty rough ADR at times, but like whatever. And the practical stuff is a big like. The opening is like this Jaws joke of like the fin of the plane going through clouds, and like they made all these miniatures and stuff, and I think it's so charming, so I love that stuff. So those are my likes and grapes for Airplane. Not much.
Sean?
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot, but it's mostly just bits, so I'll go real quick through it. Don't start up with your white zone shit again. The fight off the top between the two PA announcers, fantastic. I already mentioned the like Roger over Victor bit, the Girl Scout fight, fantastic. That same scene, he throws his hat away and it boomerangs back and hits the bartender, which I've noticed before. But what I didn't notice is that for the rest of the scene, every time he throws something away, it comes back. He throws his jacket away on the dance floor and it comes back and hits him in the face. And then he throws her away and she comes right back to him moments after during the dance. And it's another little bit I picked up on. Fantastic. Ethel Merman. The score. The score in this film is fantastic. There is not a moment between bits that we aren't brought to the emotional level that we are supposed to be in. If this movie were a like straight drama, that's what the score is trying to bring to this. But in between the comedy bits, it keeps you going instead of just dropping out or having some weird like doop 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 sound in between scenes. This score drives this movie home, and it's phenomenal. The obnoxious car driving green screen bits and the lineup to hit the crazy
to calm her down.
To calm her down.
Oh my god!
I couldn't tell if I liked that bit or not.
I think it's so funny.
I think it's the one thing from this movie that from my very first viewing has stuck with me throughout. I think it's just hilarious. They're all lining up.
Get a hold of yourself. Smack. There's a whole line.
And my only gripe is Leslie Nielsen's sleight of hand when he's taking the eggs out of the woman's mouth.
Yeah. That's
I love
life.
that. I thought it was so funny.
It's a funny bit, but like he doesn't execute it very well.
Yeah,
but I think that's part of the gag is that he's like, whatever.
That's what I mean. Though, like they used everything. They're like, let's do a practical sleight of hand bit. I don't know. Sorry, I also want to mention one other like of a bit before we move on to Dan, which is that I love at the very beginning when Stryker is going in and he's chasing after her. They have these people that are trying to pin flowers onto people, being like, enjoying our embrace. And as a response, Stryker just lets the guy take his jacket off and runs away and leaves the guy with his jacket.
It's beautiful.
And he plays it so straight. It's so funny. I was like, no movie is like willing to do that kind of stuff now. Like I don't see anyone doing something like that. It's so simple and so funny.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I have no gripes for this movie. Like you, Sean, I just have like a series of bits that I wrote down. Whacking material for the magazine choices, the magazine sections in the airport. I thought it was ridiculous. I like the Mayo Clinic that's calling the pilot. They're calling the captain, and it cuts to the doctor in the office, and it's just shelves of mayonnaise behind them. I think my favorite line of the entire movie, which I laughed out loud at, was when Stryker first sits down. Oh, not Stryker. The lead was Stryker. No.
Yeah, Ted
Stryker.
Stryker.
Yeah, when Stryker first sits down in the airplane, and the old lady who's sitting next to him turns to him and is like,
jokes.
"Are you nervous?" And he's like, "Yes." "First time?" And he's like, "No, I've been nervous lots of times."
Also, when she like is describing his partner and she talks about the like suppleness of her breasts, just having this 9-year-old woman.
But then she has this amazing moment where she's like, "It's a shame that you guys don't get along better." And then she goes to try and read her book, and he goes into a story, and she just has this like eye roll moment of, "Oh my God."
Takes off her glasses.
So good. I liked Boy's Life versus Nun's Life, the magazines that they were reading.
Yeah. Everything. Prop comedy.
And Nun's Life has a picture of a nun surfing on the cover. I don't know if you guys got that. I thought the old lady sitting next to him was great, the one who killed himself. Captain's a pedophile. We talked about that. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a bad actor. Oh, when he's in with the flashback of him in the psych ward, and he's painting the soldier holding a baby.
Yeah.
With his leg behind his head.
Behind his head.
And then he realized that it's actually a guy posing for that painting. And he's like, "Can I take a break?" And they have a guy doing that.
Yeah, sure. Take 5. He's begrudgingly lets him take 5.
Yeah.
The coming back to the joke of the woman who's like getting more and more insecure with her relationship with her husband.
Yes.
Because he never has coffee. He never has 2 cups of coffee at home. Jim never throws up at home.
But that's a send up of a Folgers ad from the late 70s, I think, where like someone offers like, "Oh, would you like another cup of coffee?" And he's like, "Yes, I will." And it goes to her, and she says, "He never has 2 cups of coffee at home." And the Folgers, get that second cup, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Funny.
I love the moment in the Saturday Night Fever flashback when he's like, "I couldn't believe her when I saw her. I had to ask the guy next to me to pinch me to make sure it was real." And then it showed.
And he's like,
The guy's like,
Air Israel. I know it's a very insensitive joke, but the plane with like the Jewish beard and I thought it was so funny.
Nah, they're Jewish filmmakers. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Getting crash position, I thought was great. I was freak out. And then the very last bit when the guy, what was his name? The pilot they bring in to try and get Stryker to help Stryker land the plane. When Kramer is like congratulating Stryker, and then he goes on like this long therapeutic tangent. Yeah, that's it. I think we've officially just like rattled off every joke in this movie, but so good.
It's a super fun movie. Essentially, the point of all of this, if you're wondering, is like if you watch it, there are going to be jokes in there that tickle your fancy. Like there's just so many and so many different types. Like it's check it out. Anyway,
a hospital. What is it? It's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
So good.
So many of those they get away with so many of those silly pun jokes. Many. The classic "Stop calling me Shirley" and all that.
Yeah.
So snakes on the plane, as I wrote in my notes. It's mostly gripes, if I'm being honest.
How dare you?
So I'm gonna go through them. So starting with one of the first people to get bitten somehow. They make a point of saying that the snakes are coming from the back of the plane, moving forward, and yet somehow they're also like they've jumped up to the cockpit because they have to. So the captain gets bitten by a big old snake and dies. And they think he's had a heart attack. Like no one notices like the giant like snake bites and blood. That I was like, are we sure? Anyway, that bothered me. I don't know how I feel, but we had David Kushner again.
Yeah.
As the co-pilot. I like him. His character was revolting and gross. And so I don't know, gripe, I guess. that they set up a barrier to stop the snakes from getting through with bags to get them, and the barrier was like 4 feet high. Like snakes climb like surfaces. I just thought it was dumb, and I didn't like them for it. I was like, maybe the snake expert, instead of just like asking what snakes are up there, could give them advice on like how to deal with venomous snakes. Like it now in the moment, I thought he was a dick for not doing that. That bothered me. Is that I thought the stewardess, the main stewardess, I forget her name, but how she saw the like a can rolling, and that's how she realized that the plane was starting to descend too quickly, was actually a cool indicator. I like that. That they made weapons to fight the snakes, like tying broken bottles to random poles and stabbing snakes. And I was like, do you have any idea how hard it would be to stab a snake with a bottle tied to a stick? It'd be like really hard. It'd be really, really hard. And I didn't. So I was like, that's a stupid idea. The fact that Sam Jackson shot out windows to suck the snakes out of the plane, but there were people sitting like right next to the windows that he shot out bothered me. Like, why didn't it just annoyed me?
They also made a point earlier in the movie of saying if you fire a gun in this pressurized cabin, it's going to blow up.
Yeah. Not true.
Not true. Not a thing that happens. I do like the line is a good line, and I like it. The suddenly cut into him being like, I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Great line.
It's great. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. The whole movie should have been way more of that. It
should have been a B movie.
It should have been a full B movie doing that kind of stuff, because it was when Sam Jackson just had the opportunity to do that kind of stuff. It's fun. I liked Kenan Thompson at the very end of the movie in general, when he gets on the radio and he's like, hey, what it is. This like that's him introducing himself to the radio tower. All that stuff. I thought it was very funny. And then I didn't like at the end that there were so many hints of people hooking up after that, like the stewardess still gave Sean her number, and that Sam Jackson was going to take out the woman for dinner, being like, yeah, let's have dinner and talk about the horrendously traumatic experience that we shared together. Sounds like a good date, right? We're like all our friends and a bunch of people died from like horrible snakes and stuff. Let's go have dinner.
It's a happy ending.
Shoehorned bullshit, which might have worked if they committed to the B movie thing, but anyway, so sorry. Lots of gripes. I'm done.
Oh. Well, I'm much more even-keeled in my lightning round. So let's start with the likes. The simplicity of this film. You put snakes, you put them on a plane, you got a movie. I love it. Woman goes to puke, opens the vomit bag, and there's a snake in there that launches at her face. Gold. Pure gold. I actually liked the snake doctor, scientist man. I thought he was a contrast to the rest of the film, but I do agree he should have been a different person. He should have been an eccentric, and you put him in your gripes, but I'm putting David Koechner down. He was delightful, even though he was a revolting person.
Yeah, he seemed to be trying to do a B movie performance.
Yeah,
like he wanted to do that apparently, which I respect.
Gripes, snake vision, sex organ mutilation, the snake setting on the microwave, fuck you movie, Flynn and John's friendship, gay man eager to suck butts, although we find out he's not actually a gay man, but just that whole scene where he was like, I'll suck your butt. And then the final song, Gripe.
Oh my God, the song, big gripe. Come on, bring it.
Oh, that's the funniest line of the entire podcast, Sean. Gay man eager to suck butt. Perfect.
Gay man eager to suck butts.
Perfect. So gripe, the entire opening credit sequence was fucking brutal. Like Kenan Thompson through the entire movie, he was great. I also like that he had like the only grounded performance of the entire film, not the entire movie, but when he's trying to talk his buddy off the ledge when he's like waving the gun around, and he has that like 2-second monologue of like talking sense into him. I thought he was great. I also liked David Koechner. I thought he started off as a slime ball, but he turned into a bit of a sleazy hero, which I was into. Gripe. Did no one tell Sean that he's not supposed to tell anybody what he's doing on the plane? He just willingly offers up that he's testifying against Eddie King to the first person that asks him.
Yeah, but she's a really pretty person.
She did a sexy flight demonstration for him, and she unbuttoned some buttons.
She put on a lot of makeup and went and talked to him.
Have you considered that she's hot, Dan?
Yeah,
right.
No, wants you to consider that she's hot.
That's a like now. I'm changing my vote. That's a like now.
Good.
There are also a lot of establishing shots in this movie that are established by having a hot woman walk through them. Just
the second shot of the film is boobs.
Yeah,
just walking down the beach, just boobs.
Gripe. Sam Jackson wins over the stewardess pretty quickly by making her feel like she's a racist. That was interesting.
Hey, it's a really great meet cute.
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Pretend I'm not here.
Like the old pervy stewardess who also ends up being a hero. But I like that she got all horny thinking those two kids were making love in the bathroom. Gripe. Gratuitous Mile High Club scene. Like breastfeeding snake.
No.
Gripe. The luggage that is flying out of that plane is for sure going to kill a bunch of civilians on the ground.
They're over the ocean.
Fuck you, Sean. Let me have my moment. Gripe. I didn't want the old pervy stewardess to die. Like the line "snakes on crack." The entire concept is brilliant. I like that moment too, where the snake doctor is like, "Make it fast. Time is tissue," and then Sam Jackson's like, "What? Okay,
That's a weird fucking thing to say."
The Gripe, the scene where the guy gets eaten by the anaconda, is some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. It was atrocious. No, that's just a general note. And that's it. I have the luggage note twice, actually. Oh, no. Gripe. Let's build a wall of luggage to keep these snakes out. The snakes that have been infiltrating the entire plane through like little small crevices. Mm-hmm. Let's build a wall of suitcases, and that's going to help.
Yeah.
Gripe.
Yeah,
that's it.
Big old gripe.
So in our Agatha Christie snake movie, I think there is room for a cocaine addicted or a crack addicted snake who everyone pins the murder on because he seems the most likely target, but he has an alibi. You know,
it would be kind of, as you said, Sean, more interesting though if the movie started with them finding one snake and being like, "Yo, what? There's a snake here," and like them talking about it, and Sam Jackson being like. And the partner being like, "Do you think that could all be intentional?" And Sam Jackson being like, "Look, man, I think it was just like, you know what I mean? If they actually did that, that could be more interesting. But it would be more of a serious movie. Again, I want to see this movie as a full-on B movie, and I don't know exactly what that would be.
Yeah,
it would be more just snakes on a plane.
It would be Sharknado.
It would be Sharknado.
Snake.
So yeah, that concludes our 25-minute lightning round. Likes and gripes. Let's rate these movies and declare one a winner. So how this works is that we have 5 categories. Looks good. Sounds good. Does it? Acts good. Do they? Story good. Was it? And rewatchability. No, that was not a question. Rewatchability. Like, would you rather, if you had to? Which one did you enjoy more? Like, if you were gonna watch one again, which one? Why? Maybe. Who knows? So we have this 5 categories.
If an alien came down and said, "We found these 2 films, which best represents humanity," you will be destroyed for one answer and not for the other.
Oh, that's a very tricky hypothetical.
That's really hard. Yeah. That's how I'm judging.
Because I might be like,
that's
snakes on a plane. Like, I don't know if I would show them airplane. I think they'd be very, very worried about us.
Very offended. Yeah.
Yeah. They'd be so offended. They'd be like, that brown face was really not cool, guys. So, and then whichever movie gets 3, or just not even, as we learned from last week or previous week, not even just 3, but it's the majority of categories, because sometimes there are ties when we have guests. So the majority of categories is declared the Citizen Kane of the week. So starting with looks good. again, I don't know, judging by our talking, again, I don't feel like we're going to take too long here. I'm going to vote Airplane because even though it has an older style, it it executes what it's trying to execute in terms of the look of the movie almost like I say all the time. It does it, and it does it with miniatures. It does it with various visual gags. The look of this movie is super fun, and I love it. I love the physical humor of this movie in every way.
I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but like the production value of Snakes on a Plane is so much higher.
Those sweeping motorcycle shots in Honolulu.
They had really cool shots of Sam Jackson surfing, and the interior of the plane was really well constructed. And I
Snake
vote
vision.
for Airplane.
Okay. Similar. I did want to bring up that in terms of looks, there's like most of this film is shot at a slight up angle, and it kind of made me nauseous. Most of Snakes on a Plane.
Right.
Because I think he's trying to show how
yeah.
claustrophobic everything is, but everything's just on a slight tilt, if not a major tilt up, and it's really sickening. So Airplane.
Ooh, I just remembered. This is going to be so out of context now, but I forgot a like from Likes and Gripes. Did you know that R. Kelly is an uncredited passenger on Snakes on a Plane?
Is he a snake?
What? He's
No,
definitely a snake.
he's the plane, actually.
Is he the snake that gets peed on?
He's a nod to the pedophile joke of Airplane.
Yeah.
That's it. But yeah, Airplane takes it.
Yeah. Sounds. This one I don't feel like I have a super big opinion either way. I will say the end credits song for Snakes on a Plane means I can never give it the point.
Fair.
Although I did think the long-haired the guy in their band who sings "So Kiss Me Goodbye."
Yeah.
He was a handsome,
the
handsome
real
guy
moody kid
with a nice voice. Yeah, I dug his style.
You gonna go download all of Cobra Starship, their entire anthology?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go download it for the first time.
Yeah,
Probably
I
now.
think Napster's back up, right?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna re-download Kazan and get on it.
You'll never guess who did the music for Snakes on a Plane. It's our old friend Trevor Rabin from Coach Carter and
Shut up.
National Treasure and I want to say Olympus Has Fallen. Some other film. We've done 3 of his films so far. His score didn't really lift any of the movie. It just happened to be there at dramatic moments, whereas Airplane's score actually created this beautiful through line from start to finish. So Airplane, please.
You know what? I'm gonna give the point to Snakes on a Plane. Just as a shout out to Tyler Rabin for just fucking working so much, man. Good for you. You're grinding. And
I'm not going to tell you what his first name is because he's now Tyler Rabin.
Was it Taylor?
Nope.
What was it? I could have sworn it was a teenager.
Steven. It was Steven.
No, it wasn't. What was it?
It's Billy.
Shut up, guys.
You'll hear it when you edit this.
No, I have to look it up now. What was
Axe
it?
good?
Okay, so yeah, now a real shift, huh? A real shift in the who's this point going to go to?
It's tough.
And it's actually it is funny though. Okay, so Airplane, the acting, I wouldn't say it's one of those things that you don't watch it and go, oh, what good acting, because they're doing actual B movie acting.
Yeah, they're doing schlock.
They're doing that's the funny thing where they are doing the schlock acting. Right. So, and again, I would say there's like a general, there's an impressive element of like I mentioned, they all run the same page, which I think is a really like a tribute to the directors and stuff on this movie of making sure that all the performers were up to speed. But like there again, and it's made funny by how many people play it very straight and very serious. And that's funny. However, if I'm being honest, there are a lot of people who are just straight up barely actors in Snakes on a Plane, but there are also a number of people doing like
Yeah.
that are like making the scene work because of their acting in Snakes on a Plane. You have Kenan Thompson, Sam Jackson at times, that old, the old quirky stewardess who liked it and stuff. And the stewardess, like the steward team in general, like the flight attendant team in general, like they were actually the ones making those things work because of their performances. So I don't feel like it's actually super clear cut because, I don't know. So any other thoughts, or if someone was like already like definitely going to say one movie? We're like clearly leaning into Airplane this podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to lean into Airplane for this one merely because it is such a unified vision. Everyone is on the same page.
But is that an acting thing or a directing thing? Like, is that really? Can you really?
But they're
get into the
executing it,
acting?
right? It's he's giving orders, but they're executing it.
Totally.
And to have, it's a sign of great direction that you can have all your actors on the same page. But these are all actors who have the versatility to hit the schlock while also keeping it in a very serious, like Leslie Nielsen in this, all the guys, Leslie Nielsen, Lloyd Bridges, all the Robert Stack, all those people are great in this film and are making fun of themselves while doing it. The actors in Snakes on a Plane are also like trying to do their job, but it's a lot more uneven, and there are a few more moments where you're like, I didn't care for that at all.
There's a bunch of moments of it.
So I'm going to go Airplane.
Yeah. Dan?
I'm going to go for Snakes on a Plane. As a shout out to our buddy Trevor Rabin.
Is he also a passenger?
To our boy R. Kelly.
Who's just been working super hard.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. He's not. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat as Jack, because I think that, having all the actors on the same page to kind of bring the vision together for Airplane is great. But I don't know. I think that I enjoyed the acting of the people in Snakes on a Plane more.
Okay.
Like, so they were Snakes on a Plane. I don't know.
That's the funny thing. It's like the acting in Airplane takes skill. You know what I mean? But it was kind of like they were all directed to just like essentially not emote most of the time, and
deadpan.
just like it was a very deadpan movie, and so you can direct them to do that, and that still takes skill, and like that still takes timing and all kinds of stuff, right? But
it's incredibly difficult. Yeah,
it's very difficult. But there were more moments that I really noticed people finding little moments to like do a nice performance amidst this like silly Snakes on a Plane movie.
Well, that was the thing, is that, I mean, I think that if we're talking in terms of who was actually acting better, who was performing as a better actor, I think it's pretty clearly Airplane, because what they're doing is harder. But because the style, what?
I'm just wondering why it's going to go to Snakes on a Plane if you just were like, the better actors were in Airplane.
It's just like a weird...
Well, because the style of Airplane was so exhausting, and I think that it was, I had a more enjoyable time watching the actors in Snakes on a Plane throughout, because they were more like real people.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like when I'm watching Airplane and it's just like a 90-minute bit.
Yeah, when everyone is not real, it's hard to stay engaged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or just just connect to acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because there's more real moments and more humanity in Snakes on a Plane, surprisingly, I'm going to go with them.
Jack?
I think in the fairness of like what the performers did, even though like I loves me Lloyd Bridges, like I want to give the point to Lloyd Bridges alone, because I adore that man. I think in fairness, I'm gonna say Snakes on a Plane. Like I think there was a collection of people that were really working hard to make it work, and it was their acting that made parts of that movie work. And I think there are parts that we enjoyed of people's performances in Airplane that really honestly would have worked for kind of, and maybe regardless of how they really delivered it. You know what I mean? Like I think.
Okay. Well, we are 2-1 for Airplane at the moment, going into Story Good.
Story Good. And this one, I'm also going to say Snakes on a Plane. I'm going to start it there right away. I'm going to say Snakes on a Plane because Airplane isn't really a story. And I know that they, like, story also kind of means like the script. and like they scripted a lot of funny bits, but that's not the same as a story. I don't know. I just
Well,
it was
Airplane
clear
is like
and simple.
Airplane is like a style. It's not like a narrative movie. It's a style of movie, right?
Yeah.
So there's not like you could have inserted any plot into that film and it would have been a similar film because it's not about the narrative, right?
It's very much the evolution of the like vaudeville, like the Marx Brothers, Abbott Costello, where you have your shtick, and then you apply a story to that shtick, and we see what comes out.
Yeah,
right. I mean, I guess the flip side is that there are a ton of inconsistencies and plot holes in Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I think that's also kind of part of it, right? Like when they were still living in B movie land, that they were kind of going for, it doesn't matter what we're doing because we're just going to show you a bunch of snakes on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that said, I think I'm with you, Jack. I'm going to go Snakes on a Plane just because it has a story that is driving it forward, and it's not just like a backdrop for jokes.
The shtick, yeah.
You gonna fight us?
Yeah, let me just
fight us, bro.
Get my Hulk gloves out. No, I am going to say that the mere fact that Snakes on a Plane is an original script puts it slightly above Airplane, which is a copy of an old film, almost verbatim in a lot of places.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's hard to give like a script point to a parody movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say that the story was more thoroughly executed. There wasn't as many times of like dipping and peaking and doing this weird like quality wave that Snakes on a Plane did. But
totally.
It's an original concept, and it's weird and outside the box. So I'm gonna give Snakes on a Plane the thing, and it's very simple. It's great,
and it's the concept. It's like the premise on Snakes on a Plane that made it like something at all. You know what I mean? It's just that idea, that genuine wild, as you say, outside the box idea that gave it notoriety.
They wanted to change the title before the release to like Pacific Flight 121. They wanted it to be called, and Sam Jackson was like, "No, I signed on to Snakes on a Plane. Change it back," and they did.
And they're like, "Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Jackson."
I love that guy.
Yeah,
Master Jackson, I think he was called in the credits.
Yeah.
You know,
Master
he's 104 years old.
You know, he's 1,000.
He was like jumping off cars by himself in this movie. He's jumping down from hoods of cars. Dude had to be 65 because he's old, man.
Like 50 something in the 2000s, probably.
I feel like he's been 72 for like 20 years.
Yeah,
right.
I'm pretty sure he's 91.
Yeah.
Well, should we rewatch?
Rewatchability. But I again, not going to waste any time. I will rewatch Airplane. It's a movie that I could watch every year. I probably won't ever watch Snakes on a Plane again. It was fun to come back to it and see it once more, if I'm being honest. But like, it's Airplane.
Yep. There will be a day when I have to watch Airplane again because I need to watch it. There will not be a day for Snakes on a Plane like that.
Oh, okay. Well, then I won't even say my vote.
No, Daniel.
What were
this
you
is a
gonna
democracy.
Say?
I mean, I've lost.
And you're the minority.
I was gonna say Snakes on a Plane because I've seen Airplane so many times, and when I was rewatching it last night, I had a great time and it was nostalgic, but it wasn't as funny as I remembered it being because I recognize a lot of the jokes. You know what I mean? And when I've seen a comedy enough times, that's kind of it for me. And Snakes on a Plane, I think there's a lot more to be mined from this film. I think that more can be gleaned upon a rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, you're so funny.
There's a lot. I think that there's a lot of subtle nuances that I may have missed the first time around. And
you should write a master's thesis on this.
I also just want to give a shout out to my boy Trevor Rabin for just working so hard.
I think you mean Tim Rabin.
I mean Tyler Robish.
Yeah. Tyler Ramesh. Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler Ramesh. Robish was a fail.
You mean R. Kelly?
Yeah.
Also, R. Kelly for being in Snakes on a Plane.
He believes he can fly.
That's a funny.
Oh, so good.
Is that your real vote? Are you not? Are you being serious right now though?
I'm being serious. Yeah, I am going to go for Snakes on a Plane.
I want to point out that it's a funny point that you're like, in terms of rewatchability, I can't say Airplane because I've just watched it too many times.
But we're talking
Like-
about which movie am I likely to watch again? Which
I
one
mean,
am I likely to watch watch again in the future?
So I guess so. We happen to catch you at the end of this movie's rewatchability for you.
Hey. It is what it is.
What's Miranda's vote?
Miranda would be Airplane. She didn't end up watching.
Oh, yeah, Miranda
Snakes on a
loved
Plane.
Airplane.
She
Oh,
put
no?
it in like her top 5 movies of all time.
Airplane?
But she had never seen it before, right?
She had seen like the last 2/3 of it.
Ooh.
Ah.
She saw maybe that long. It was one of those things I remember it so vividly where it was playing at our old place when we lived together, and she came in and we were watching the movie, and dude put like the glass to his face and like poured water, and she looked at me kind of like, what's going on? And I was like, well, because he has a drinking problem. And she like lost it, and then she was like down for anything the movie did after that, and she loved watching it again.
Amazing.
That is a brilliant joke. It's really funny.
It's
like,
so perfectly stupid.
Yeah. And for somebody who's like, had I never seen this movie before, I would think it was like the holy grail of comedy. Like I can't really name another movie like it, except for like Scary Movie franchise that tries.
Which
to
are also one of the Zuckers was part. He did 3 and 4, and I would argue that Scary Movie 3 is the best of the Scary Movie franchise.
There are a couple of these parody movies that I grew up watching that I loved. Like I loved Mafia, the parody of the Godfather movies.
Mafia was pretty good. I forgot about Mafia.
There was Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2.
Yeah, it's a Zucker.
I particularly loved Part 2. That was the movie that I watched all the time as a kid. Mm-hmm. So like there are a number of them that kind of adhere to this model, but Airplane is like there's just something special about it.
It's the proto
Would
film.
Naked Gun fall into those categories as well?
Yeah, it's Leslie Nielsen. So right after Airplane, the success of this, the Zucker brothers did a 1-season, 6-episode TV show called Police Squad, which Leslie Nielsen was in, and it's all on YouTube. And I highly suggest you go and find all 6 episodes of Police Squad, because it's this kind of humor, but sending up the like police serial drama. With Leslie Nielsen as the main character. And then from that, the Naked Gun movies are that character that they just turned into films instead.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
There's Naked Gun, and then there was another one that was like a parody of the oh my god, what are the Mel Gibson movies about him as a cop with Danny Glover?
Oh, Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
There's like Loaded Weapon 1. They like it's
I
only
don't
one
know
of them,
those
but they
ones.
called it Loaded Weapon 1, and I think it stars Emilio Estevez or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Isn't
or the
Charlie
guy-
Sheen also in that movie?
I don't know if it's Charlie Sheen. I think it's just Estevez, and it's also quite funny as well. Again, and it's a parody of like these parody movies are
These
great.
films are great.
They're great.
Well, the Citizen Kane of the week, therefore, goes to...
Airplane.
Yay!
Oh, the connective tissue was airplanes.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I missed it. Shit.
Oh, there it is.
Next time.
I have to run to the bathroom real quick. So vamp.
But
Vamp
you're,
for it.
you're recommending
Okay.
You're
movies.
the guy.
Okay. Right. What am I? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't leave now.
Right.
And we need a detailed explanation as to why you chose these films too.
Well, the theme for the next episode is hidden Nazis.
Oh God. Okay.
And
Like history
Wow.
movies.
Jesus. No, actually, this is an two alternate history films. Thanks. The first one, the classic Sir Laurence Olivier, Gregory Peck, Uta Hagen star in The Boys from Brazil.
Never heard of it.
And-
Can't wait.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. And
Thank you, Sean, for a genuine classic.
schlocky for it is the like 2010-ish film Iron Sky.
Iron Sky.
Is that the one where there's like Nazis on the moon or something?
Don't give it away.
Sorry. I mean, what?
Okay, great.
yeah.
Our
This is
secret
going to be the
Nazi
most
week.
obscure episode that nobody will click on because
Yeah.
nobody knows what movies these
Iron
are.
Sky is beautiful.
I've heard really good things actually. I've heard it's like a hot mess of
Yeah.
beauty.
Our niche market for this podcast is trying to appeal to all markets of old movie lovers, new schlocky movie lovers, everything. So it's all grist for the mill.
Iron Sky is going to get you some clicks there, Daniel.
Oh yeah, Iron Sky and Boys from Brazil. Okay, go Pete.
The Boys from Brazil, because there's also a film called Boys from Brazil that I think is about male prostitutes in Sao Paulo.
Definitely porn.
Great.
Yeah.
Did you also, Jack, just say it's all grace for the melon?
It's all grist for the mill.
Grist for the mill. Okay.
I wish I
All
said grace for the
melon.
melon.
It's all grace for the melon. Okay, Sean.
Hey
go
guys, look.
All right, I'll be back.
We have Thanos trailers to get to, and then I gotta go play video games.
So I'll tell everyone, we know what they are. I'll tell you about these Thanos trailers while Sean's away. Essentially, they are our version of the Thanos trailers that we saw in the MCU leading up to Thanos' arrival. So essentially, as you know, he would appear in the post credits after random movies, and he would do some random thing to tease his arrival. We kind of just play a little game of imagining what his post credit trailer would be for just like any movie. So we do it for the movies that we watched each week, which again was like not super easy this week.
I immediately thought of one that like kind of works as like two alternate stories for Airplane, but Snakes on a Plane, I was drawing a blank. I also just finished watching it right before we hopped on.
Right.
So I didn't really have time to like mull it over, but it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. The Dan classic. Watching the movie. It's fresh though. It's fresh when you watch it.
Well, that's why I do it. It's not for any other reason except for the fact that I have a hard time remembering movies too long after I've seen them. So I want to have it just like fresh. So I watch one movie like the night before, and then one movie like right before.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been trying to switch it up. If you've been following along at home, and you've been watching these movies because it's fun to watch movies and we need stuff to do right now. I find I try to mix up like which I watch, like the order, like the classic and the newer schlocky one. Like I try and sometimes watch the schlocky one first because like it's hard to not let them color your opinion of like the second one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna. No, you can say something because I was gonna do another quick tangent.
I was gonna say mine is usually just dependent on kind of like what mood I'm in and how much and what time of the night it is. I usually either if it's
totally.
late, I'll just check the runtime of the movie.
Yeah. Totally.
But also like the vibe that I think the movie's gonna give me plays a huge role in kind of which movie I watch first. Yeah, and it's usually also which one do I think I'm going to enjoy less is the one that I do first. That
Daniel,
way
you will enjoy the Boys from Brazil less. You will enjoy the Boys.
Oh, I'm 100% sure. You said Laurence Olivier and Uta Hagen, and I was like, I'm gonna watch that today, so I just get it over with.
We should definitely pitch more movies that Dan won't like.
Oh, that's my goal in life.
I think it's fun. I think it's very funny.
How the tables have turned, Sir Jacqueline.
Yeah, so we'll do our Thanos Caesars. I told them what that is, Sean. We got a beer too. And
you did.
Also, if you've been listening, if you've been following, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Be sure to like us on things, comment on things, tell us movie choices that you've maybe thought up. Send us Thanos teasers of your own. Yeah. Email us, share it with your friends, have it written with skywriting in the sky. I don't know.
What's our email, Jack?
We're citizenkanevs@gmail.com. You can email us there, and one of us might check it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I get notifications on my phone when nobody emails us.
Yeah, one of us will check it. We're just preparing for the day that we have fans.
Yeah, we will. We have like 7 fans.
Yeah. Right? But hey, fan out there, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
So yeah, and if you want to stick around, let's do some Thanos teasers.
Also, but while we're doing the call to action thing, rate and review us if you like what you hear. It goes a long way in kind of free advertisement of our podcast. You can do it on Apple Podcasts as
Stitcher?
well as
not Stitcher. No, Spotify.
Spotify.
The other one that's Google Podcasts.
And I think you can do it on. I think you can do it on Podcast Addict as well. The more rates and reviews we get, the more these platforms kind of put us into their search engine and make us like more viewable for people. So that
And
would
soon
that really helps.
Elon Musk will bow to us.
Okay, let's get this over with.
So Sean, we were just talking about how they weren't super easy this week. Mine both, I think, revolve around. Okay, so I'm going to start with airplane. So, and I don't like. I think either it's a really short and sweet one, it's kind of one of two. So help me suss out which is the more fun option. So either we have the final scene of airplane and the autopilot comes back on and his lady autopilot joins them and they take off, and then it cuts to them like flying, and then they give a look to each other and they smile and they look back to the front, and then like another inflatable opens behind them and it's like a inflatable Thanos, and then it just cuts to their faces and they have like a like look on their face, and like that's it. Or it's like Thanos on his spaceship and he like beams down into battle, but before he goes, he's like, let me just turn this on real quick, and he turns on the autopilot, and either it's the same autopilot or it's again like the one that looks like him that it clearly like designed himself or something.
I think it's the same autopilot, but it's dressed in a spacesuit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. Like has like a little like plastic bubble like around its head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that one's funnier. And he has, instead of like spacesuit gloves, he has 2 Infinity Gauntlets.
Yeah. But he can't snap because he has no fingers.
A curse.
Yeah.
A
It's
curse.
like infinity mittens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of those two.
That's good. And mine for airplane, there's also 2 different versions of kind of the same story. So mine, Thanos is the chef that prepared the food on airplane. And in one scenario, he is just a really kind of earnest, innocent chef who's kind of hard done by in life and really needs his job, and just accidentally poisons the entire plane. And the scene that we see after the credits is him getting a phone call from his boss. No, his boss coming to him like in the kitchen and giving him the news and firing him. And then we have the really sad kind of scene of him walking home in the rain, having to like go to his studio apartment, his shitty like rundown mattress on the floor, and it's here that he begins to plot his revenge on humanity. For Or the other one is he's already evil Thanos, and he intentionally poisons the fish because there's only 2 options. There's only fish or beef. So this is his dry run at taking out 50% of a population.
I like that
Oh
one.
shit! There it is.
Statistically, I'm going to kill half of them.
Yeah. So that's it. I don't know how
Love
we
it.
set that up, but that's the plot.
Do I have one for airplane? Like, let's say that Thanos is nope, pass on that one. My snakes on the plane is going to be Thanos. Like before the chaos begins, he sees the couple get up and go to the bathroom, and he's kind of like, uh-oh, and he also is like, and he goes to that one, but it's locked, and then he goes to the next bathroom, and he's it's open, and he gets in, and then like it's very, very graphic and very, very violent what happens in there. But we forget about it, and then at the end of the film, the plane's landed, everyone's jumping off the chutes, and he finally comes out and is like, lights a match, and like, oh boy, did I miss anything? And then you get that ha.
That's an airplane bit.
So the whole sequence is just Thanos takes a shit.
Thanos takes a shit. We forget about him, and then at the end we're like, "Oh, Thanos is taking a shit."
That means your Thanos teaser involves a separate Thanos scene in the movie.
And honestly, it could work in either film. So
yeah, it's the same. That's what you've done again.
Yeah.
It's the same for both.
too fair.
Good,
It's actually I think your teaser is that you see Thanos get into the bathroom in airplane.
Right.
And then he comes out in Snakes on a Plane,
Yeah.
being like, "Did I miss anything?"
Yeah, there it is.
There you go.
Got to
There you
bridge
go.
that meta.
I feel like in mine, the the way that the anaconda was kind of like the boss snake on Snakes on a Plane, we actually go one step further, and maybe 10 minutes after we see the anaconda reveal, we also see like a Thanos snake, and he's like the big boss snake.
And he's got an infinity rattle on his tail.
And yes, he has an infinity rattle. but it's after the credits, and he the plane is empty, and then we see him kind of slither out of the toilet and turn to the camera, and he's like, "Oh, did I miss it?"
There it is. There it is.
There's also another
So dumb.
another like potential in the same. There's like an Air Israel. There's like a potential joke of just like an airplane of a post credit scene of like now boarding air, like whatever the planet Thanos is from, and it cuts to a plane that's like essentially like Thanos's face is the front of the plane, and it's just like a Thanos plane because that's the kind of movie that it was.
Yeah.
Snakes on a Plane. I just want all I know is I want Thanos recreating the famous line, but it's like in a spacey version. So he's like, "I'm tired of these motherfucking Thnorps on this motherfucking ship," and then like everyone's
Thnorps. Thnorps is good. Thnorps.
Thnorp. You know what I mean? That's it. It's just him. I don't know why, and I think literally, it's like I don't know. Maybe it's a TikTok. I don't know. Look,
That'd be good. I'd probably like his version more than I liked Sam Jackson's in this movie. I was disappointed. I was disappointed by that, guys. It was the only part of the movie that I saw coming, and it let me down.
Which part?
The tired of these
line.
motherfucking snakes on the motherfucking plane.
Oh, it let you down?
Yeah, it just kind of came out of nowhere.
it does kind of
It's a
happen out of
reshoot
nowhere
for sure.
Yeah,
and also it's like it's somehow still one of the best bits of writing in the movie.
Yeah.
yeah, but
it
just
was-
like shoehorned into a scene where it doesn't fit at
Yeah.
all.
It was user submitted essentially.
Yeah,
So maybe Thanos says it like, "I'm tired of these motherfucking Avengers
On my motherfucking spaceship.
trying to stop me from getting these motherfucking stones." And everyone's like, "Thanos, no one was prompting you to say that."
But
And he's like, it didn't sound cool. And they're like, "No, man, like it maybe in the right context."
yeah. And we need to talk about your professionalism, the language you use when we're
Yeah.
on deck and at work. Okay.
And then it cuts to a long HR meeting.
yes.
So why do you feel that you need to use this kind of language when you're at work? Well, I mean, the way leaders are portrayed in the media. I think
Yeah.
I really
when we're given examples like the president of the United States who can disrespect anyone, I just felt that it was my place to also do that,
yeah, like I just don't really see any language as bad language, So like,
And like you're destroying my freedom of speech by telling me I can't say motherfuckers at work. So you're the Nazis. Tune in next week for Hidden Nazis.
Yeah.
Citizen Kane versus
Thnorp.
Thnorp.